Welcome back, and let's continue. Now we will talk about likability bias. So, what is a likability bias? Likability bias is rooted in age old expectations. We expect men to be assertive, so when they lead, it feels natural. We expect women to be kind and communal, so when they assert themselves, we like them less. Likability bias, also known as, listen to this, the likability penalty, often surfaces in how we describe women. Women are more likely to be described as too aggressive or bossy, words rarely used to describe men in the workplace. We know that. You may even have caught yourself having a negative response to a woman who has a strong leadership style or who speaks in a direct, assertive manner. This is likability bias at work. And being liked matters. A question for you. Who are you more likely to support and promote? The man with high marks across the board, or the woman who has equally high marks but is not as well liked? And maybe she is even not well liked because she has high marks across the board. To make things more complicated, women also play a penalty for being agreeable and nice, which can make people think they are less competent. This double bind makes the workplace challenging for women. They need to assert themselves to be seen as effective, but when they do assert themselves, they are often less liked. Men do not walk the same tightrope. Not easy. This bias plays out differently, but not less damaging for women of color. Black women are more likely to trigger this penalty in many workplace contexts because they are more often stereotyped as angry and aggressive. Who wouldn't if you have to live this as your reality in your workplace? Meanwhile, Asian American women are more often stereotyped as being communal than other groups of women. And this can make people less likely to see them as effective leaders. So you see, ladies, many stereotypes, biases that are out there. And even if this is related to likability, this affects your performance and affects how people believe you perform, and also affects your self-confidence, the probably affecting your performance. And this is also something that can happen unconsciously. So this is why we have to be so attentive to those bias. I find it's amazing that companies don't give this kind of training to everybody out there. It's only a few companies, but let's see. We need to talk more about those things. I will give you an example here. The topic of reviews and promotions. Here's the case. You are on a team doing performance and reviews. You're part of the team. And notice that a lot of women get feedback on their speaking style. This is a very common one, and my clients or students come to me because they become aware that the way they talk, the way they express themselves, in many cases, is not helping them to build confidence or to exude confidence. And for us women, is challenging because nature did not give us this strong, deep voice that men have. Very rare cases. So we do need to be attentive to how we speak, to our style, to our gestures, to our body language in order to align all of that with our with what we have in paper. Because I have clients that come to me, for example, and they ask me to help their management team, their leading team, to really show in person what they have in paper. Because these women are awesome, excellent, brilliant in paper, but when they come into a room, when they speak, you don't see that reflected there. So that is very important. And this is why I always think these bias things, there are two sides of the coins. If these kind of comments are going around, besides of that they can be biased, we have to check if it's not effectively that these women, this particular person has a kind of girly voice, girly manners. And we as women, as a professional, we have to assess ourselves professionally. We have to get someone to give us a feedback, a professional feedback, because we cannot coach ourselves. And then we need to work from there. And why this matters? Back to the topic here. Criticisms like this can prevent qualified women from advancing, which hurts both them and your company. Of course, because if people are criticizing how you speak, how you come across, when you present, you eventually will be too self-conscious of yourself, that will affect your confidence, and that will affect the way you come across. And what do you have to do? When you notice this happen, point it out. Explain this is a common bias against women and why it happens. And I will tell you in a moment why it happens. Suggest that the group focus on the substance of what people say, not their speaking style. Although your colleague might have a girly voice, you don't know, let's consider it, she does. You as part of the team, you as the manager, you have to be able to listen beyond the voice. You have to be focused on the content of what that person is saying. And to be honest, if I'm managing this person, I will talk to this person directly as the manager and would suggest this person to look for a voice coach, because that will be on her own benefit. So I don't think there's anything wrong of saying that, of pointing this out in public in front of your colleagues as something that you have to diminish your talent, your values. Yes, it's not to be said in public, but talk to this person and explain why it's important that she comes across with a voice, with a stance, with gestures that represent her talent, her caliber. Long term, recommend that your company use standardized criteria for performance reviews, which will reduce subjective opinion. So you then, with your standardized criteria, you are not so focused on how she is speaking, but in what she is saying. Consider recommending anti-bias training for employees involved in the review process. When people understand how bias impacts their decision making, they are able to make more objective decisions. Why it happens? Studies show that women often get negative feedback on their speaking style, while men do not. If women are confident and assertive, they can be criticized for speaking too loudly or often. But if they are quieter, they are more likely to be told that they need to speak more confidently and assertively. For some groups of women, no matter how they speak, people project these stereotypes onto them. Asian women are more likely to be criticized for being too quiet, while Black women and Latinas are more often labeled angry and loud. There you go. So let's continue with the next one. This is a hot topic for all of you ladies like out there that are mothers. We will talk about maternal bias, and there's a lot about this topic. So see you in the next module. Bye for now.